social media. This is your program, The Morning Show with Elton Jones, and of course, today I have in the house Mr. Butte with me. Before we get started our discussion, I think congratulations is in place for Mr. Franklin and Angela Richards on behalf of their daughter who has acquired her master's degree in notary law. It makes me kind of happy, not only happy, but elated, because when I read these things, I see that another nail has been put in the coffin of the naysayers, the doomsday predictors, that the future is bleak. Every time we see that we have produced another professional, some of the best and brightest among us, who come home to make a contribution, I am very happy, and I think that the future is looking bright. So from our studio to you, much congratulations on behalf of your daughter and her success in attaining her master's degree. I'd like to go over to something else. Last week we talked about medical professionals refusing to take doctor cards from civil servants and pensioners. This was because the government had large arrears in making good on the payments of these, and the medical professionals could no longer carry the weight of all this credit. Good news today, I think. The government has deposited 10 million guilders in the OZR fund, which is the fund that pays the doctor cards bills. So it seems that at least in the short term, the card holders will be able to get services from their professionals. However, the medical professionals are looking for a long-term structural solution because it is lamentable. They believe that every time to get action from government, you have to go over to these drastic measures, of which, of course, I agree. But anyway, for now, there's money deposited and the card holders will get the service they need or desire from their local doctors. And before we go over to our debate, I want to talk about something that is playing on social media for the last few days since the arrest of Member of Parliament Theo Heiliger. It is said Parliament has to deal with the suspension or replacement of leader Theo Heiliger. And the Parliament is saying that they're waiting on notification from the prosecutor's office. So I did a little bit of research to see what it is. And Article 50 of the Regulation of Parliament says, a person who loses membership of Parliament as referred to in paragraph 1. So paragraph 1 talks about sentencing shall be replaced. And then it says a person who is suspended as is referenced in paragraph 2. In paragraph 2 talk of suspension by law shall be replaced by a deputy. During the suspension, the Member of Parliament maintains his remuneration, so he shall be paid, and the person that replaces him shall also step down the time the Parliament step down, which seems normal. But what we can read out of here is that there must be a sentence, first of all, or there must be a suspension by law. None of these things has yet been done, but we wonder aloud if then what happens to the innocent until proven guilty, because if you would suspend somebody now because they're a suspect, it means that you have decided that they're guilty, because even the regulation doesn't say you can. The regulation say after sentencing or after suspension by law. So we haven't heard of any of these things being done yet. I think we're trying to be proactive in this one, but I don't think it's the right way to go. Anyway, that is what is being taught out in the halls of power. Another thing we've gotten from the Minister of Prisons and Security, Minister Dekker in Holland, said that for now, for the time being, the return of prisoners from the Netherlands to St. Martin to the Point Blank prison will not occur because St. Martin has not done enough, has not done anything to improve the situation at Point Blank prison, and therefore they will not be sending the prisoners back. Also, the jury is still out on what is the role of the kingdom government in taking into account their guarantee function and what is happening at Point Blanche and the inhumane and unusual treatment of prisoners there. We know of the case in the European Human Rights Court where the Dutch was condemned to pay damages to Mr. Corallo in his case. So we have to look at what all this guarantee function entails to determine what the role of the government, of the Dutch government, will be in this. And of course, before we go over, yesterday Parliament concluded a meeting, and the meeting had to do with the Kingdom Charter and also St. Martin's right to a full measure of self-government. I don't know if I gained much from the meeting. What I know is that the meeting will now be referred to the plenary session, so the public meeting, and it is hoped, or at least the chair said, other requests for other things associated therewith, so including the request for a referendum, will be added to that meeting for debate. So we hope to have that meeting coming up shortly, and we hope we'll hear where Parliament stand on the various issues and how St. Martin moves forward. Good morning, Mr. Butte, and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning to the audience. Good morning, Mr. Jones. Good morning to the viewers.
Let's start with the doctor cards. I mean, the good news that we deposited some money, and now civil servants and pensioners like myself can use your card again. But tell me what you think about this issue, because this is not the first time this situation arose, and it seems to become a normal thing that people have to threaten with action to get government to move on something that is normally in the purview, which is their obligation to do.
I understand when you say this is their obligation to do, but we know that these things are going to happen. Advice is being written on these subjects years ago. This is not a new something that just fall out of the sky. This thing been happening with us from the Netherlands and Antilles time. I remember I will go back again and remind people. One of the things that the ex-minister of Health, Omaira Leeflang, said very clearly, remembering a sad meeting we had in Curaçao. We will regret that we're going to break up the Netherlands Antilles and break up SZV and making it small compartments, because it will become a problem of small island trying to fund themselves. Health is a very expensive care, and if you don't have the numbers, it's going to remain a problem. It's going to remain a problem. So this will not be the first. This was going to be the last time that I will hear from that government have to put in fund. One of the problems also we have that government is a horrible payer, always been, always will be. So, because of the situation of the territory, the country can't pay its bill. So, shows you that we have problem. We have this boasting economy of 1.2, 1.3. They name all kind of numbers, 1.3 billion guilders, but we hardly could pull in 400 million every year. Hardly. We're a lot of twisting and pulling and twisting. We could pull in 400 million guilders a year. So something is wrong with our system. And we have to fix these systems. We have to put these things in place. We have to fix our tax system, fix our economy. And I will repeat this again. Until we make our country wealthy, and when we make our people wealthy, we take then the other decisions that have to come. Because I just heard you said that Parliament is going to have a discussion about charter and referendum. I mean, what referendum going to do with poor and hungry people? My point is, let me fix the economy of this country. Let me fix the social system of this country. And when we have everything in place, that is what reasonable people do. You fix your problem then, and then you go over to another one that you think will be in the horizon. But you don't take the one on the horizon, put it in front, and the one that you have already, there's a big problem to you, you can't fix it. And we are committing these errors day by day because there's a lot of emotional things going on these days. People are not thinking rational. People are not thinking with their mind and doing the things that they're supposed to do. And I think it's very important that people like us and others in the community, we create a think tank and write reports and give it to government so we could help them maybe think and do some things.
One of the things that that was mentioned is the compliance with tax obligations in St. Martin, and the Minister of Finance has just extended a contract to BearingPoint. BearingPoint is a company out of Curacao. BearingPoint won the contract, even though BearingPoint was the highest bidder. There was Computech here that was the lowest bidder, and other companies that was way below, but they didn't get a contract. It's a 12.3 million guilder contract with a 2 million consultancy addition to try and upgrade the ICT at the tax office, hoping that that would help in compliance to get taxes paid. As far as the referendum is concerned, certain things. In St. Martin, it's not only people on the road, but it's government. Government, I said a few days ago, is sending a mixed message. We're talking about the resolution, the Geschillenregeling. We're talking about our position in the kingdom and what can be done about the kingdom, while the same people that are arguing these in public meetings are out there slamming what the Dutch do, how the Dutch intervene, how the Dutch meddles. So the thing is this: you need to send a clear message to the people on where you're going, where you want to take them, how, and all the other things you have to give. But if you can continue along that line without the people involvement, then give the people a chance to voice their opinion. Our contention is this: there was a referendum in 1994. 6 years later, there was another referendum in 2000, which resulted in what we have now, the 10-10-10 Accord, the slotverklaring, and all the other crazy things. We believe that people who in 1994 were not able to vote because of age or whatever, some may not have been born or just born after that, are now at age to take a decision. People who couldn't vote in 2000 are at that age now. If you were born in 2000, you'll be making 19 or making 19. So you have a clearer picture of what is happening. You can make input. The reason is this: we have never gotten a clear indication where we stand in this kingdom. One time you hear one thing, another time you hear another thing. And bear in mind, there has never been a government decision, so to speak. Varying parties or varying politicians and parliamentarians in the Netherlands have their different opinions on what should happen to these islands, what should happen to these governments, and stuff like that. So it should be good, at least I think, for the people, because it's a decision left to the people. And if the people would decide, we could get away from that and move on. Until then, we're going to always have these things. When things, and in my mind, it looks as if when things are not pleasing to you, the Dutch is Satan himself. And for some who think they're getting what they want, the Dutch is the way to go. We cannot run a country, and that we have done that with the Netherlands Antilles, and we see how it went. There was a comfort zone in Philipsburg, in the island council, the island territory, that everything that went wrong, you blame on Curacao. We should not ask for autonomy and resolve the right to throw responsibility and blame elsewhere. If we are to really be a government and a people building a country, we have to stand up and face the music, not the credit when it go right, but also carry the responsibility when it doesn't go right. That is why I think the referendum should also be put together with that meeting for the discussing the kingdom in St. Martin's right to full measure of self-government.
I love that you got where I want you to be, because you said just now very clearly, during the time that we was island territory, we always blame Curacao for everything.
Fact.
Yeah. What we doing different? We blaming Holland now for everything.
But that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be there. That's why we should
We
decide.
blaming Holland. We're doing the same thing that we did before.
But I agree with you. That's why I said we should decide where we're going from here. Because the luxury of being able to blame people does not hold water in governing a people and leading to a specific destination.
But then exactly, our people that we have elected have to do their job in moving this country forward, and they have to be honestly explain to the people what, because up to today, a lot of people don't, I mean, I think it was a week ago, I wrote on Facebook about the slot for clearing. And here comes younger generation tell me, what is that? And I said, you go online here, you find it and read it. They don't know nothing about it. But here they are criticizing and talking about the position St. Martin is in. And I had to explain them that this is the position we have negotiated. This is the position we have negotiated with our expert. And I think we should be man and woman enough to the position that we have negotiated, that we are on this position, and okay, let us make the country strong, and then when we make, and I will remain preaching this, as long as we don't make this country strong and don't create wealth for this country, which will trickle down to the people, you cannot move this country nowhere. Because you can't move a hungry man, take him nowhere. Because he will complain to you during the trip that he is hungry. You understand? You cannot move a hungry, take a hungry man out of your house, tell him let's go to cinema, and expect him not complain during the trip to the cinema, in the cinema, and back to the cinema, back home, that he is hungry. We have to get these things in place, and that people are not doing. We're skipping the rope. We're going all the way down to Bermuda and Bahamas, and come back home. Fix the problem at home. We have to fix our economy. You just said just now, we have a problem fixing and putting the tax department in place, and it's not only the company from the French side. There's another company also headed by Mr. Jean James also, who have sent letters to the Minister of Finance, threatening them with certain things. The minister answers them, and it's not. They're also taking the minister to court. So there's two companies.
They have a right to take him to court.
I'm agree with you.
Crazy.
You understand?
But let me explain you something here. First of all, to fix the economy is not an impossible thing. We have had a booming economy. It got hit by Irma, and we're in the things we're in. But this is where we're going.
I don't agree with you on that, but go ahead.
But I'll tell you. When you're building a country and we keep making these mistakes, I heard some real professionals, some political scientists with the same thing about building a country, they look at infrastructure, things like airports and ports and hotels, and they say they're building the country. To build a country, you build human capacity. You educate your people. You get your people ready for eventualities and for the things they would have to do and contribute in this country. You cannot build a country with buildings in concrete. You have to build it through your people. So when I see things like a young St. Martin get a master's degree in notary law, that's why I'm elated, because that's how I see building country. And if you see more successful countries in the Caribbean, if you see what they changed when they came in the fight against the colonial master at that time, Britain, most of them were from the British Caribbean. What did they change? Education system and the system of security, how they paid and managed the defense forces, the police, and stuff like that. Because building a country is building human capacity, not buildings.
If we're talking as two professionals and two person who, when we say building a country, definite, we are not going to exclude the human resource out of it. It has to be part of it. That is, I won't even go in discussion with that. We have to create that human brain, that capacity for we to move this country forward. You can't move this country forward on your own. You can't move this country forward with only with people that is not knowledgeable for you to put tomorrow in place to manage what you have moved forward. So we have to have these intellectuals, our own intellectuals preferably, to move these things forward. But the world have so much resources nowadays that we could move forward with expertise. Sometimes they are not ours, but they train ours in the meantime when they're moving forward. So there's a lot of ways of doing that. But the point is, we should not stay back. Should not stay back, or we should not be negligent in moving our country forward. We're supposed to take it very serious, and we are not taking it serious. I mean, I wrote something on Facebook where last week, Wednesday, and I think the minister, Wednesday when we had, but it came after, a reporter asked a minister, what's the impact of the Heineken regatta in St. Martin economy? And seriously, I have never heard more backtracking, and the minister used so much word and did not say nothing. He couldn't say nothing. And these are things that the minister supposed to have at hand. What's the impact of the regatta? What people comes in, what people spends, how much money goes into the economy? These are answers you're supposed to have. Because why are you putting money in something that doesn't have economic impact? It's just like Carnival. All these people coming from Curacao, Rouabout, and Anguilla and thing. How much days they're staying in Carnival? How much money they're spending? We suppose, even the village, we're supposed to know it's good for us to have a village like that. Having a village like that, show me a economic impact, a study of the village itself. Because for me personally, we're losing money with that whole place. Because we're using it in April, and then the whole year stands. So you're losing money with it. It's the business plan you're making of it. You're losing a lot of money with it. Because you spend 5 million guilders billing this, and you're using it 1 month of the year, good. So you're losing money with it. Studies have to be made, because you can't have a place there standing from the 11 months, from the 12 months, 1 month completely, or 2 weeks, and all the months I'm standing there, maybe 3 or 4 booths using. It's losing money.
I agree with you, and we know from experience with the government administration building that non-using creates larger maintenance costs because of no use. But I wanted to go back to where we started on human capacity. You see, I am one of the people, I have said years ago in the Island Council, anything you don't have, you can hire in. But when you hire in for a period of time. The idea back in the days of the Island Council was that there will be counterparts for everything. You remember when the sector directors, the idea that there were going to be counterparts, so your own people will be trained. It is not possible, I don't think, to build a country around foreigners. Then you're not building anything. So when I see that my good Minister of Finance has appointed a Suriname person to the Central Bank of Curacao, it gives me the impression, not that he's being miserable or malicious, that St. Martin don't have that capacity. And I know it's not true. We have people could do it. There's people. When you see that local companies lose this contract to BearingPoint, there's reason to go to court, and there's reasons for Parliament to also ask, because don't we have it here? We're creating the impression, we as government, we as country, are saying, no, we don't have anything, just bring it in. That's what I'm talking about, human capacity. We must be able to find among us, or train among us, what we need. We cannot simply depend on building around foreign brain power and for outsiders coming in. That's what I'm talking about, human capacity.
I will agree with you, and I will disagree with you. As a small nation, it will be impossible for you to have all the knowledgeable people in town to put in every place. Impossible. Not even a place like Curacao that have 3 universities don't have all the brain power they need. They don't. Not a place like Barbados don't have all the brain power they need. And these are countries with 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the amount of people living than St. Martin.
No, but I have no problem. That's what I said to you. So you could have them, but have to train locals. You have to have a counterpart.
But exactly.
Policy.
So you have to accept, as a small nation, that you have to bring in sometimes and train your people. That is a concept that we can't run away from. we have to bring in knowledgeable people. And I believe that sometimes I must bring the best in to train my local St. Martiner to become just as good as that person that I brought in for that 5 years to do this job. I need to do it. We have to stop being ignorant sometimes on a lot of things. When we have, I have discussion these days. I mean, very intellectual person tell me someday ago, what a guy from Schiphol could teach me. I mean, it's the most ridiculous statement. I mean, I was so flabbergasted what he said. This is one of the biggest airport companies in the world, who manages one of the couple of the biggest airports in the world. How can you say something? But when you don't know something, when you don't read, when you don't put yourself up to par with things, you become ignorant in exposing your knowledge, the little that you know now, exposing it. And then people like me now, and I say like who do just the contrary, reading and informing myself. I say, why are you so ignorant? So we have to stop being ignorant. And the sad part is that those are the people that get the audience, the ignorant people get the audience.
They scream loud.
You understand?
They scream loudest, so they should be
just to dip in there. But that's not the issue, Mr. Butte. That's not the issue. The issue is the counterpart has been put into play many years ago, and why is it being put on the back burner so often? And even now, yes, in a loose statement, so, the gentleman probably said, "What can Mr. Butte teach me?" But it's not that he would not work with Mr. Butte, but sometimes the gentleman ends up teaching Mr. Butte about certain things.
Yeah.
These are the issues that St. Martin has been facing many times, and for you to get the inside information, you would normally get it from the people that these individuals have to work with, and you would find that it's true. They end up teaching them.
What Schiphol has, not only in Europe but in the world, one of the biggest shopping centers at an airport, the best managed. Those are things you could learn because airport diversifies. So airport is not about business. Airplane business alone, but a business part, and there is something to learn from there. So there are things they could teach you. Basically, air traffic control is legal standard.
Yeah.
You have the ICAO, you have FAA that set these rules, and you can't deviate from it because you feel like. There are certain things that is airport attached that doesn't change. But in the business part, around the world, Schiphol is known as the best for the business part of airports.
But what you two gentlemen are talking about is the counterpart
system. And train somebody.
And this is what you also would hit your fist on the counter for and says, whatever happened to our counterpart issue that we have put into play for so long? I heard you talk about it just now. So when I listen back to how you phrase your words again, it makes me wonder whether you are throwing it out.
No. Okay. No, absolutely not. The counterpart issue is how you implement it, right? And how is the implementation of it, and the people you choose now to train my people. You cannot bring in someone that is not knowledgeable and who cannot train my person. Not only train the person, but you have to elevate that service, that department that you put that person in. That is also the job of the person that you're bringing in, to not only teach the counterpart, but also elevate that department of that service. So it's two jobs he has. So you have to have that person have the capacity to do that. And listen, your resume speaks for yourself, your experience speaks for yourself. I mean, I can't take somebody that graduated last week and tell him to come and tell Elton about airport traffic control and all of that. It's impossible. No, it can't. You have to have your years of residence. You look very good now. You go in the newspapers. I saw last week the new hospital, St. Curacao Medical Center, is putting in the newspaper for board members who have mostly different profiles, but at least 10 years in management. Apart from the educational background, when they say ervaring, I mean experience of at least 10 years in a managerial position. And this is where I want my country, as a young country also, to go. Put in the positions available, that we could get the right people them on these board also, and stop pinpointing and picking up Tululu and Palala and Lalala and put them in there.
But I agree with you on that. But listen to me. We know it's no secret, or it's maybe the most told secret in the world, that we have been appointing people on boards as political favors. I mean, somebody support me, a position became available. He knows absolutely nothing about what's happening, the port, the airport, GB, you know.
Yeah.
We put them on the board because they're political supporters.
Yeah.
We have put the Cooperative Governance Council to try and
To advise.
and
Yeah.
kind of at least
Yes, to advise.
You know,
We didn't give them
start that- no,
we didn't give them
start
a
that a
strong
bit.
position.
Not strong
they-
enough.
Yes, not strong enough.
We have been doing that for a while, but our governments has got to understand that if we to move the country forward, and if these large parts of our infrastructure that we depend on, government get concessions, they get shareholder fees and stuff like that, and they help run the economy. We have to put knowledgeable people. If we don't, these countries are going to be run in the ground. We also have to put knowledgeable people on things, on services and government. So not only the NVs, on things like the SFV. So when we look at the money, some of the accounts under SFV are losing. We wonder, you know, who's managing here? Is anybody at home at these institutions?
Yeah.
So we ourselves have to come to the maturity and say, you know, we can't continue to do it this way any longer. You can be doing things for a long time, so doing it long but doing it wrong.
Exactly.
And you know, somewhere along the line you got to say, well, the buck stops now. We need to turn it around. And I don't find that that's a hard thing. We have the professionals we need. The country have professionals to head these boards. We have people with an insight to what good governance is, good structure is, and how to do it. It's just that we fail to pick them because of color. So in other words, if you don't support this color, support that color.
Yeah.
If you have the highest degree, you're not considered because you're on the wrong side. And in a small community, that's hard because you don't have a big bag to select from. The selective few you have, you got to be able to pick them and use them to the best of ability. I've even argued before that we are talking about having a shortage of police and a shortage of but we have a lot of these retired people who are in their 60s.
It's still young.
They still can function.
Yeah.
Why not give them
Bring them in.
Bring them in to still contribute.
Yes.
Make up for your shortages. We rather sit on our hand, ball, boy, we have too short here, we have to. In the meanwhile, the country is not getting the service it should get, and therefore not able to provide to the citizens and its visitors the service they should get.
Yeah, that's a very well put statement.
Yes, I agree with him. So the first time I agree with him all the time. I do have to say, the first time I agree with him. I look up to him because I agree. he coming over by my side little by little. Getting him over.
Because you all, both of your conversation was about we got what we negotiated for.
Yeah.
That's
okay, and the negotiators, those are the ones that you would have to try and cipher them out now to find out whether it was good. And I guess that's where he was touching the topics on who was who, and also the wise men. We also had issues of the wise men and whether it was the real wise men per se or just handpicked. My final one, in order to give you all a good flow, is that Mr. Alexander spent some good time on St. Martin here in order to teach and to pass on some good knowledge. Do you think that that this is being exercised, or it was exercised for a little time and now put on the back burner while the same thing continues?
You know, and it's good you brought up, especially Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander is a man from the soil, if I'm not mistaken, from French Quarter.
French Quarter originally.
Well educated, well respected, not only in Curaçao, St. Martin, Aruba, and the Netherlands, well respected, and he comes home to help us put things in place. Because he don't have to. He don't have to. Okay? He can relax and do what he's doing in Curaçao. He's retired now and do something else. But he feels that he have to contribute to his little island where he can't forget where he come from. And then you have members of parliament criticizing that this good gentleman coming to St. Martin and we could find. I notice one thing when it comes to law. The more you exercise that job, the more experience you gain. And I have a couple of friends of mine who are ex and old lawyers and notaries and stuff. It's incomprehensible the amount of wealth of information they have in their mind. These are people you just can't throw them away. You can't throw them down. You always we have a thing I notice a lot of times. It's not for nothing. They will call a committee from Ways and Manner and Vrouw in Curaçao, a committee of wise man and woman, and they go back to Maria Liberia Peters, Don Martina, Mr. Peters from the court. They call all these people up because what they have in their brain. I mean, these people, you could pick their brain and they have solution for you. You just don't throw them on the back burner and tell them, man, go sit down, play domino down behind the under the tree. These are people that you keep them there, and that's something we have to grasp, we have to respect. Sometimes I feel personally that we also have to use them to educate the younger ones. Educate them because the younger ones just say things and talk things, but sometimes when you say things and talk, you have to know the history behind it. And because you don't know the history behind it, you only have this conclusion. But if you know the history behind it, you understand why it's been done like that. And only these people could help you out. And you have to keep them in mind and use them. Pick their brains all the time. Don't leave their brains get quiet up there. Pick them, call them in. Hey, listen, I need you to do this and this. Check me on this. We have to do that. And I believe these are important things to do. And again, it's go back to my philosophy of taking this country forward. And I heard about somebody on the front side this morning on a talk show, and he said, the day I hear somebody says in the future that they love St. Martin people, then I know that's the right person to lead our country. Because everybody say they love St. Martin. They love St. Martin. But when I love the people, I know the struggle that the people them going through. And I want to move those people out of that struggle for them to at a higher. I don't want my people to come and knock for a health card. I don't want my people to come in the future and knock for a financial assistance from government. I don't want those things. So for me to do that, I have to take my people to a higher level. And that's what I want politicians to understand and do. And that's what we've been preaching. Let us make this country wealthy, because this country have the resources to become wealthy. Because if you have this kind of economy, you can make it bigger, and we could do all the things them. And when we do all the things them, as I said to my good brother, Mr. Jones, I don't have to go and knock to look for the what the people think. The people come to me and tell me, let's do this, let's move now, or let's go there. But you only could do it when a man belly full. You can't do it with a hungry belly man.
Look, my good friend Julian Roxy, used to say almost daily, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you bargain for.
Yes.
And we go back to what we bargained for. I saw last week the Dutch was going through the Selfgovernment to see what rights they derive from it and what they can do again in these islands. They're having a problem with Aruba now, and Aruba is saying, listen here, we don't like how you going about annexing or dabbing with the Constitution to put your dispute regulation in place that we didn't agree with and stuff like that. And with every one of the others, but what I believe is the problem. We have people that can contribute, but it's like an old football team or old baseball team. You get so comfortable the people your customer playing with, you don't want to introduce new ideas or new talents. So you stick with the old so long and no new ideas come. The world is evolving, things change. Constitutional concepts and systems,
Yeah.
they also evolve. Huh? And we are still back basically in the 70s and 80s with our trend of thought. So we have to, and with all respect to the people that go along, if you look at what we decided with the monetary union, up to today we can decide the simplest of things. We're running out of effective money, and we should be out of effective money according to the CBECS in the next year. But we haven't decided that we're going to mint more money because we can't take a simple decision whether we want to stay with the Caribbean Guilder that should have been implemented already or dollarize. So you see, these things are lagging behind because there's no real push, and there's the advice coming is not what it should be. The reason why a place like Curacao and others keep the Maria Lebeira Peters and all these people is that white hair is not only aging, it is experience. And you could go back and look at things varying ways, different ways, that you would come to a better conclusion. But to take here now and realize that tomorrow is wrong, and then we have to live with it for maybe 5 or 6 years, because none of these appointments are done for a year. They're done for a period of time when you come back in a review and stuff like that. So that is why it's good to have the experience behind it, who can sit out of the pressure. Because if you can sit back and look at it and say, well, how would this affect me tomorrow? How would it affect my job market? How would it affect my investment? But when you're in the pressure, you only see what you get now.
Yeah.
If you're a chess player, you would know that if you're a good chess player, you don't look at all what you could get. Chess is a reverse game. You look at what the other guy is doing, what he's going to get. I know what I can get and what I want. But the other guy, if you don't look at what he can get, he will give you.
Yeah.
So he could get what he wants.
Yeah.
And basically, that's how we got to play this game we play with our constitutional feature.
I always said that we made some very serious mistake when we were negotiating our constitutional future. And, it's horrible to go over what spilled is spilled, and let me go over, let me move forward. But when we move forward now, we have to put the things in place. I remain and I keep preaching that. Integrity chamber, we have the integrity chamber is not only for the Netherlands, it's for our own self. It's for our own good to have it in place, because as you just said just now, if I have the corporate governance working on its own, and I respect the corporate governance decision, it makes it good for me, because then I know the corporate governance is not because Mr. Jones supported Butte, but because of Mr. Jones' ability, knowledge, resume, experience that he been put there. So these are things that when you put them in place, it's going to work for you good in the future, because then you will create a society where people respect people based on their merit, their experience, their education, and you will respect them. They're not going to respect them because they are colored or they are supporting or they are friends to a political party, organization, club, or what it may be. And that is an individual respect that they create for themselves, because they have worked in the interest of the country and build that image, what they have done, and that resume, what they have done over the years. So that will be good for us, because then the younger generation also will look up to us doing these work, and then they will notice, hey, I would like to be like Mr. Jones, because this man has built up. He came from French culture. Look up, he built up himself. When you read through his resume, and just now you said something. We congratulated
Mr. Richards,
Mr. Richards' family. But you notice lately in that profession, legal profession, is only ladies.
Mostly women, yeah. Mostly women.
Mention me the last gentleman that came out as a lawyer from St. Martin?
Notary law.
Notary law is all ladies.
All ladies now.
Okay? All
When
ladies.
we grew up, it was only men.
Only men.
So
It's
the
giving you already
dynamics
that.
is changing.
And the dynamics is changing. We are losing our young men. We are losing our young men because our young men them are their role models them they are looking up to is horrible. And the ladies them that have very few role models here, they are doing a good job because other ladies are looking at them, other young ladies are looking at them and becoming something in our society. They are becoming something in our society. So all these things create a society that you want tomorrow. They create a society that you want tomorrow. And we leave that for another program, how bad we as Caribbean men have been, but we leave that for another program.
Okay, two things I want to talk before we finish here. I want to talk about the Preclearance, U.S. Preclearance at Princess Juliana International,
I
and
love
also
that.
home porting in St. Martin. Let's start on Preclearance. In the new proposal for financing via the Dutch, one of the things is that Preclearance be put aside because it shouldn't be one of the top things. But I tend to disagree. I have done the study. I've seen the study when I was at the airport because it started way back. And we know what the increase in business will be. We know what it would do for the airport in terms of revenue and for the country as a whole. So we know what that is.
But you didn't mention one thing. You tell me you know what the expense, but you didn't tell me what the burden will be.
The burden for me?
Yeah.
We had already do all the studies. The thing was up for signing. It is stopped now. There was a time last year. I don't remember the date anymore, but somewhere near this because I dealt with this. That the government of St. Martin had to sign a letter with the company in Texas on it, and we didn't sign up. So it seemed it was already going backwards because we weren't following up on the things we had to do. Of course, there comes with a cost for everything. Everything you do, as I told you some time ago, we got to pay our way through life. So everything have a cost, but the benefits, what you look at, the benefit, if you make an investment now, the reason you invest is that you see that 5-10 years from now, the returns will be great. That's how it's done. The returns for the airport and for St. Martin will be up to about between 50 and 60%. Because with all the Eastern Caribbean that are clearing here, it brings the intermediate traffic, so traffic not intended for here, but clearing here brings money to here. So I'm, as an airport person, I'm getting landing fees, parking fees, navigation fees, all those other things, besides the people who clearing have to pay. So you understand that part of the structure goes up. So I need to understand why, because now we're seeking finance, and these are the things I have serious problem with. When I get a loan, is something I'm going to pay back. If I pay back to St. Martin government, I pay back to the Dutch government, I pay back to the World Bank, pay back to whoever, but this is a loan. How can you determine that preclearance is no longer important to me?
Because it's a extremely expensive issue.
We know what it is.
Extremely expensive.
We didn't just start dealing with it, we've been dealing with it since 1995.
Okay?
So we
It
know
will cost the airport between $5 and $8 million a year.
Oh, good.
Okay?
And what will make
you
from it?
make what guarantee? Why should I leave from Barbados and travel to St. Martin to clear to go to the U.S.? Give me a good explanation for that.
It's easier and more convenient than going to someone.
But I don't travel to San Juan no more. I go straight to the States.
Yeah,
so why should I come
because
to
of
St.
the
Martin?
lines now, the way the lines in Miami, the lines in your, you will be easier to give a better service to your people to go through. If you're in the aviation world, you got to understand that standing. If you land in Miami today, and I go to Miami a lot, the line is winding from here to Sable.
Yeah.
You land at 9 o'clock, and you get through the line about 11:30. Those is what you call about giving service, especially in. And let me tell you, I haven't been there this year since they had the shutdown, government shutdown. But you should go when there's a shutdown, but you don't ever get through.
But still, it's not a reason.
Of course, it's a reason. It's an economic reason. It lends to the revenue of the airport.
Mr. Jones, Aruba have a preclearance, and there's very less than 10% of Caribbean that travel to Miami that go through Aruba.
Yeah, but that's Curacao.
Because it's money and it's time consuming.
Listen to me.
Anybody that leave, let's say, the only people who will use this service is Anguillian, people maybe from St. Bart's, and that's it.
That's not true. Listen to me. You cannot compare the geographic position of Aruba with the geographical position of St. Martin. Aruba, who's around Aruba? Curacao and Bonaire. We have the whole Eastern Caribbean.
But you're not answering my question. Why should a person leave Antigua that could travel with a ticket straight to New York for $400, pay $200 or $300 extra, or $200 extra to go to St. Martin to buy a ticket, which most of the time is more expensive to go to New York?
Well, you see, it's not the person traveling here today. It's the airline find it more convenient to do that way, because we turn airplanes around. The faster we turn it around, the more money we make. Every hour you leave an airplane on the ground costs you money, a lot of money. And the bigger it is, the more money. So for the airline, a fast turnaround is better. So if in the United States you have slots to fly, landing and takeoff. If you don't make those slots, you're delayed. Your whole system is changed, because that airplane that flies to St. Martin is needed for another flight at 10 o'clock. The airplane that flies to Washington is needed for another flight to someplace else. It's the system works interconnecting. So if you can save time at any stop, so it's the airline, this is not the person who's going to fly to St. Martin to pay extra $1 to clear a custom. No, it's the airline takes those decisions. But the point is this still though.
Okay.
The airport and the shareholder, the government, have to determine if it's valuable to them. It cannot be determined on what, if I get a loan, if you could determine what is too expensive.
No. It was not determined. It just said that issue should not be put into the budget or the new management.
Why not? The point is, why not?
But you have to build up your.
But that's not your decision.
But
what I'm saying is, it's not your decision. That's where I'm going.
You don't have no money. I'm giving you money.
No. You give me a loan.
A loan.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm trying to explain you that you don't need. You buy a car. You don't need 4 tires because your tires are good. Don't buy 4 tires because you have good tires that I sold you with a car.
No, that's not whether you need tires. You're telling me whether I buy a Volkswagen or Lamborghini.
No.
Yeah,
I give you the car. I tell you
the Lamborghini.
No. You want to put 4. The service that you want to give is 4 new tires, and you want to put 4 new tires, and you have good tires on your car. I tell you no. Hold on a while. Let me see how we put the airport up to par first, and then we can move on with that.
Yeah, but even in the tire analogy, it's still a right. You're giving me a loan. So long I gear it towards what is geared for, you can tell me what is too much for me or too not much for me. That's not what the lending institution is supposed to do.
Because here again,
do I qualify for the loan?
Here again, you're showing your emotion.
No, I'm not emotional.
No. I'm not saying you saying. I say here again, not you. We showing our emotion and not. Okay, if you're telling me that this is not good, and I'm telling you why it's not good, then you bring your study with your fact why it is good. That's an old study.
Old study?
That's very old study.
But it's easy to redo.
Listen, we spoke and we spoke with the minister of tourism of Aruba. That was myself, Claret Connor, and they in a meeting explained us how expensive the service is for Aruba. Extremely expensive.
Because nobody's clearing. If you talk with the airlines that come out of the Eastern Caribbean, that what you need, listen to me how you do these.
How you mean nobody clears?
Aruba
have more tourists than St. Martin per year to stay over.
Stay over?
Yes.
But listen to me. If you talk to the airlines coming out of the Eastern Caribbean that would use the service, that's where you need it from. The people who use it, not the individual, but the airlines. Once you get a commitment from the airlines that if they have the facility and they would use it, you can count it in dollars and cents. And I'm telling you, we have done before, even old, because then we didn't have the amount of movements we have now. With up uptick in movements and the uptick in St. Kitts, Antigua, all these islands go down because they have more traffic coming from north now, you can renew this thing and you would see it's a winning prospect.
Give me the new study, and then I could maybe come on your side.
If I was at the airport, you could believe you would have it.
Give
already.
me a new study, and then you could convince me on your side.
Okay,
But
good.
no, you can't convince me.
Well, but I know, so that's why. But anyway, let's go to home porting.
Yeah.
We have 3 ships. I call them 1.5 of the size. That's
Yeah.
what I love. Home porting now. So, how do you see that boding for our economy?
You know, home porting always do good. You know, you have to pick up these people. You have to bring them. Most of the time, we don't have the facility as yet for them to stay overnight or two, because so they comes in most of the time in the morning or something like that, and they move on. So maybe some of them will come still a day before. But for we to get great in home porting, then we have to have the facilities of hotel rooms and all of that. But home port will always bring extra into the economy once it's done right. The studies then being done, and we planning being done, and the infrastructure and everything put in place.
Before we run out of time, what you see as the greatest threat to home porting?
The greatest threat, if you're bringing in the people, just bring in and go. For me, then it doesn't make no sense. I won't say it doesn't make no sense, because these people have to purchase all kind of things. So I don't see much negative thing in it. I see
Okay.
more positive.
We're going to use the business on it to check the threats, and so later
Yeah.
we're running out of time. We have to go over to
Yeah.
Parliament. I want to thank
Members
you for
of
your day today.
Parliament,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of
support
the morning show. Goodbye.
Visitors in the Public Tribune, Radio